Boromir. My father is a noble man, but his rule is failing, and our people lose faith. He looks to me to make things right, and I would do it. I would see the glory of Gondor restored. Have you ever seen it, Aragorn? The white tower of Ecthelion, glimmering like a spike of pearl and silver, its banners caught high in the morning breeze. Have you ever been called home by the clear ringing of silver trumpets? Boromir, The Fellowship of the Ring. Hello, and welcome back to another video from Secrets of the Rings, where we celebrate and delve deep into all things Tolkien. Join us today as we explore the history and characteristics of Boromir, son of Denethor II, and captain of the White Tower of Gondor. If you enjoy our videos, please like and subscribe for more content, and let us know what you would like to see more of. Boromir was born in Third Age 2978 to Denethor II and Finduilas. His father served as steward after the death of King Ecthelion II. Thus Boromir was heir to rule of all Gondor. Boromir's only sibling was his brother Faramir, whom he would grow close to in spite of not sharing personal interests. After the death of Finduilas, while Boromir was only 10 and Faramir 5, their father grew exceptionally bleak and gloomy. He cared little for his youngest son, but was ever proud of Boromir, his heir. Boromir took great interest in military matters, fighting and living a warrior's life. Faramir, however, was more partial to poetry and lore, things for which Boromir did not care for unless battles were involved. The relationship between the two brothers was not stifled by Denethor's gruesome disposition and over-distaste for Faramir. They grew up close and eventually fought side by side in battle together. Boromir was a respected figure amongst the people of Gondor, as well as Rohan. He was regarded as a fearless and loyal warrior, built for leadership. His grey eyes and dark hair signified his lineage in the House of Húrin, one of the first tribes of men in Arda. He would take no wife in his lifetime. Boromir was proud and loved his people, but it would be these two traits that leave him vulnerable in the War of the Ring. In Third Age 3018, only a few decades after recapturing Osgiliath, Boromir fought alongside his brother in Sauron's latest attack on the capital city, located on the eastern front of Gondor. Mordor's armies, coming directly from the east, set out to test Gondor's strength and provide cover for the dispatch of the Nazgûl to the north. Osgiliath lies on both sides of the river Anduin and provides a valuable crossing point without the need for a large naval fleet. Thus, after the loss of East Osgiliath, Boromir and company managed to destroy the bridge in order to better defend the Western Division. This attack sets in motion an overwhelming anxiety for the likes of Boromir, fearing for the future of his people as Mordor grows in strength as well as boldness. The night before the attack, Faramir had a dream, one that he'd had before, as well as had Boromir once. In it, they are made aware of a poem that reads, "Seek for the sword that was broken, in Imladris it dwells. There shall be counsels taken, stronger than Morgul spells. There shall be shown a token that doom is near at hand, for Isildur's bane shall waken, and the halfling forth shall stand." Boromir's recounting in the Fellowship of the Ring. Unable to determine the meaning of these words, the brothers sought counsel from their father, but even he was unable to decipher much more. He informs them of Rivendell, referred to as Imladris in the dream, and Lord Elrond. They would send someone there to seek counsel against Mordor. Seeking to protect his little brother from a perilous journey, Boromir would set out for Rivendell despite Faramir's wishes to go himself. The journey would take 110 days for Boromir to complete and is typically unheralded, despite the accomplishment it would prove to be for him, losing his horse in the flooded region of Tharbad, a fortified city west of Moria, and the only crossing point of the Grey Flood River. He would travel the rest of the way on foot, through a dangerous and unkempt route. Boromir arrives at Rivendell just in time for the legendary Council of Elrond. Here he would detail the growing struggle between Gondor and Mordor, and their efforts to prevent Sauron's forces from crossing the Anduin. However, he sought only counsel and not military aid. He described the riddle that came to him and Faramir, and thus Aragorn presented the shards of Narsil, and Frodo the One Ring. Boromir believed he could use the One Ring to empower the forces of Gondor and prevail over the growing shadow in the east. He was quickly dismissed, as the wise figures of Elrond, Gandalf, and others knew the threat posed by the One Ring, and its threat in the hands of men in particular. Nonetheless, Boromir would join the Fellowship of the Ring with the intention of returning to Minas Tirith. He would prove to be a formidable ally to the other members of the Fellowship. His idea for everyone to carry wood as they ascended Caradhras, the tallest of the Misty Mountains, allowed them to build the fires to save them from freezing to death in a blizzard. When the path on the mountain proved too dangerous, they changed course to the mines of Moria. Boromir and Aragorn carried the hobbits down as they plowed through the snow. At the doors of Durin, at the base of the Misty Mountains, Gandalf could not recall the secret password to enter the magical passageway. It was Boromir, thus growing frustrated, who cast the rock that awakened the Watcher in the Water, the sea monster that attacked Frodo before they all fell in through the doors of Durin. Boromir battled well in the Chamber of Mazarbul. His skills in combat were masterful, even sounding his great horn to help the company survive the orc attacks that led up to the duel of Gandalf and Durin's Bane on the bridge of Khazad-dûm. He, along with Aragorn, raced toward Gandalf in battle, but not in time. When the Fellowship set course for Lothlorien, Boromir protested, citing the eerie reputation that befell the forested land, according to the men of Gondor. But Aragorn concluded only those that bring evil with them have something to fear. By now, the growing pressure on his mind had begun to delude his thoughts more and more to the One Ring. In the first film of the trilogy, we see the effect Galadriel's gaze has on the frightful man. He wondered what she may have discussed with Frodo, and before departing, he received from her a golden belt. He wore the belt from then on. Boromir shared a boat with Merry and Pippin as the company sailed down the River Anduin. His fixation on the ring grew larger, inching his boat closer to Frodo's, muttering to himself and donning a strange and notable look in his eyes. But even amongst his paranoia, his proud spirit still glowed as they passed the Argonath, at the north end of the Nen Hithoel, a large lake within the Anduin, bordered by the Emyn Muil, or dreary hills. He also helps the company avoid the falls of Rauros before docking the boats on the shore. When Frodo wandered off into the woods to think on the next course of action, Boromir follows, having earlier had his plan rejected that would have brought them toward Gondor. He tries to convince Frodo to bring the One Ring to Minas Tirith. As he speaks, his delusions of grandeur grow stronger in his mind, seeing himself as a great king and leader, savior of his people, and defeater of Sauron. But Frodo rejects him, and now, panicked and furious, he resorts to force. Frodo then used the ring to vanish and run away. Upon coming back to himself and realizing what he had done, Boromir is overcome with shame and calls for Frodo to return, to no avail. He only admitted to arguing with the hobbit when returning to camp, and when Merry and Pippin ran off to find him, Aragorn sent Boromir to guard them. He came upon the two hobbits surrounded by orcs. He slew enough of them to scare the others away before they were ambushed by another wave, this time with over 100 orcs. Boromir fought hard to defend them, sounding his great horn once more. Many arrows pierced his body in that battle, more than adequate to kill an average person. Despite this, he continues to fight, in the end slaying at least 20 orcs. As Boromir lay dying in the woods, Aragorn kneels beside him. He admitted to his treachery, but Aragorn assured him of his redemption. Boromir, along with his broken sword and horn across his body, was sent over the falls of Rauros, to the tune of Legolas and Aragorn's lament. 3 days later, while sitting on the shores of the Anduin in Osgiliath, Faramir believed to witness a boat float past him. He had heard Boromir's great horn while he fought the orcs at Amon Hen, and now saw his body inside the boat, without his horn, which later washed ashore and was given to Denethor. In final, or what we may presume as final, for the fate of men is unknown, Boromir was cast from the Anduin River into the sea. Boromir, captain of the White Tower, beloved brother and son, left a massive void in the race of men. As an experienced commander and fighter, His presence was profoundly missed in the War of the Ring. He was driven to darkness by the fear he had for his people's future, but he served them valiantly in his lifetime, and that will always be his true legacy.